see the UDF concept. What is the UDF in the how to write our own custom function in the Spark, right? So whether you are using Scala or Python, we can write our own custom UDF function, and that UDF function we can use in our data frame API. We can use the UDF, okay? Because UDF we are applying on the column. Okay. Okay. Let me find the example of UDF. We can do the first name, last name, two columns concatenation, and we want to create a one full name. Okay. So let's see that example. Write UDF function for concatenation of two columns, first name, last name, new column, full name, right, right. So we assume it like I have some data set, and I will read a file, and then I will have a two column, first name, last name, and then I will be creating a UDF. So first I have to create one function. Okay. So I will be defining a function first. Okay. So any function you can create, and you are taking a two input parameter to this function. Okay. Because my requirement is a first name and last name. I want to concatenation, right? So I'm going to define a one function. Okay. So first I'm going to create a function. Okay. So my function is created. My function name is a concat names, right? This is my function. Okay. Now I will create some data. Okay. So we know, right, Spark is already there. So just we use this import statement, because when we are using a PySpark SQL functions, so we have to import the UDF because we have to register a UDF function. Okay. So convert the Python function to the UDF function type. So we use this UDF function library. Okay. So we have to import. This session is not needed. The session is already there in the by default. So we do this import statement. Okay. And now next is Spark is already there. We don't need to create a Spark, because Spark, if you print, you will get a Spark session, right? The Spark session is by default there in the PySpark shell, because this program is given for the PySpark program, right? Like in the ID, you can run the code in the ID, so you can use it. Okay. So this code you can use in the ID, so you can copy paste and you can test it. Now I have to create a data. So this data is I have a like two columns, and two columns data tuple data is there. This is a list of tuple. So I have a first name, last name value, first name, last name value. So instead of getting a data frame like this, you can read the CSV file also. Okay. First we do without CSV file, and then we will do the CSV file. Okay. So I just created data manually. Okay. So how many ways we can create a data frame? One is you can read a file and get the data frame DR, right? Or another way is you can basically create data frame function. So you can pass the data and schema, column schema. Okay. So you can create a data frame. So two ways you can create a data frame. Okay. So if I want to create a data frame like spark.read.csv, and suppose my file is in some file I create here in my home directory. Okay. Because I started the PySpark on the home directory. So if I have a file here, if I create a file, I say names file, names.csv. Okay. And this names.csv file, I will be creating a first name, last name column. So I say X. X is the first name, last name is a Y. Okay. P is the first name, last name is a Q. R is the first name, last name is a S. T is the first name, last name is a U. Okay, some random data I just created. Okay, but two columns data, WQ. So if I read this file, I want to read this file as a df1 because I'm creating a df1 data frame, spark.read.csv, and I'm giving a file. If I'm creating a this CSV file colon triple slash home dot username, and then here is a file is names dot csv. So I will be creating a data frame one. So if I do df dot show, I will get the data in the first name last name column. If I'm doing here df1, but df1 dot show I will do, I will not get the header, right? Because there is no header I have given, right? Because when I'm reading a CSV file, if suppose my header is there in my file, so what option I can use? Spark.read.options and then header equal to true. So I can write option and I can write header equal to true dot csv. Okay, like this I can write. But first of all, I should have the header. Okay, so my file is a names.csv. This file I open. Is going to open as a CSV file. I open in the another application text editor. Okay, I open like a text editor. So my first column is a, what is the column name I should keep it? I should keep it the first name, last name. Okay. So I'm keeping it at a first name, last name. Okay, and I save this file. Now, if I'm going to do this,
header equal to true.
who I given, I think double quote has to be option. Header equal to, like, so df1 now dot show. Last time you see it was not showing the header, but now this time header is there. Okay, so if you don't have the header even, okay, but you want to create a header, so you can assign the column name. Okay, you can assign the column, like this column is a C1, you can rename it, you can do, right? This is the default column name is given when the file is read. Okay, now your df1 is having the data, and if you say df dot show, that is also having the similar way the data, right? Now both are look similar, right? Only data frame values are changed, but both are having the same structure, right? Two columns, right? Okay, so now I apply my UDF function. So first of all, what I need to do, whatever function I created, I have to register with the UDF function. And I have to tell what will be the return type of this function. So I have to write this line. This line will be creating a one UDF function by registering your normal function. Okay, by register your UDF function, you pass your original function and pass the return type. Okay, so that will become now UDF function. So it is just basically conversion of your normal function to UDF function. So this function is created. Now this function I have to apply on a with column. I will create a new column with column in my existing data frame with the name as a full name, and I will pass my these two columns, first name and last name, because we are passing the two string values to the my two string values. I'm passing first name, last name. So instead of passing the hard-coded string, we are passing the column we are passing in the UDF. Okay, so I will create another new data frame. I will create another new data frame. Okay, and this data frame, if I print it, df with full name dot show. So which one will come? The column that the data frame is df1. Suppose the same thing if I want to do, so this is reusable function. That is the reason it is called custom UDF function. The UDF function means the function which is reusable. So if I want to apply the same function on my df1 data frame, okay, and here also you have to change df1. Otherwise, you will be passing the different columns values, right? So it should be symmetry, right? If you are using df1 with column, you have to use df1 dot df1 first name and df1 dot df1 last name. So now this data frame is overridden. Okay, because you have not created a new one. So whatever your this one is overridden by this one. And if you do again show on this one, now you are getting the value like this. Okay, so this is a concatenation. So whatever logic you written in your function, that logic will be performed. Okay, so you written the logic in the function is space, like delimited with the space. If you if you put a comma, so comma will come. Okay, so that will be your logic, right? So how many steps we have to do? The first step is create a function. Second step is we have to register the UDF, because data definitely will read it. Either you read the data from the file, or you read the data, you create a data manually by using the create data frame. Okay, and after that you have to register the UDF function. So that is your second step, where you are registering your UDF function. So UDF function you have to register by UDF function and pass your UDF name and return type. Okay, so return type, whether it will be a string type or it's a what is the type is there. So you are returning the type, and this UDF function you have to use it in your data frame API. Okay, like suppose if I say instead of the data frame API, I want to use this UDF in the Spark SQL query. Okay, like Spark SQL query, right? Spark.sql, I want to use this UDF, right? So first of all, whatever your data frame is there, which data frame you want to apply, you have to create a temporary table for that one, right? So like df1 you want to apply, so you will create or replace temp view, and some name you give of this alias you give. Okay, after that you use a spark.sql. Okay, so my df1, I want to apply my UDF. So now I will be using select column. So I want to display first name column, last name column. Okay, and I have to apply my UDF function. UDF function name is concat name UDF. So concat names UDF, and these two column I will pass input first name comma last name, and as column I gave the name of this column is full underscore name, right? From where? From which will come? What will come here? From T1, because now the table is a T1. Okay, and then we have to dot show. If you want to store this result in another data frame, just assign it to the another data frame. If you just want to display only the output, you just do. It's going to check in file. The table means it understand in the file. Okay, checking the right. So only for UDF it is going to check in the Spark SQL. So we can apply the same UDF function in the SQL query. So SQL query we have to process will be the same. So here create table, can view, did we do this UDF register? How we did? So this spark.udf.register. Some contract name UDF. Contract name. What is the difference here? Here we are creating a UDF function and passing this. And here is I have to change the table name. Okay, like this way it will come. So whenever you want to use a Spark SQL, so little bit change you do, you just keep it like this. Okay, this line will change. Okay, so instead of like there what you are doing concat name UDF equal to UDF function, and these two things you are passing as a parameter. Okay, here you are passing like this concat name UDF like this, and this one you are using in your data frame column. Okay, but here what we are going to do the same thing, whatever we register it here. Okay, this thing we are passing it here in the okay, so this way you register the UDF. The only difference is the registering the UDF. Here is a spark.udf.register, like where we have to register. Actually, we are telling here we are going to register this UDF in Spark like this way. If I don't register the UDF, I just create a alias. If I just create a alias for my UDF, so it understand this UDF is created in the Hive. So it is trying to call UDF in the Hive. Okay. So that is the difference. Okay. So whenever you want to use a UDF in the Spark, you don't want to let it go to Hive. So register like this. Otherwise, if you don't register like this, it will try to search in the Hive. It will go to the Hive. Okay. So how to read and write the data Hive, I will tell about that. How to read and write the data. We have to use there is a Spark session. We have to use enable Hive support. Here we have to do enable Hive support so we can read it. Is it clear this one UDF things, right? How to use the UDF in, right? How to create a data frame and then use the UDF. So how can we apply the custom UDF function? Okay, so okay, so I already covered the MySQL integration. I'm telling again, actually. Okay, so MySQL. Now the integration is going to start mostly like the Spark SQL part we have covered, right? The Spark SQL, we have Spark core, right? So first we say Spark core. So we have seen many transformation sites in the weekend. We see, right? We saw flat map, filter, right? And different types of joins also we seen, right? Left outer, right outer, full outer, cross join, right? Join, union functions are there, right? So union, like combining the rows, right? The union we can do. Okay, splitting the columns, like we can split the columns, right? We can change a column, right? Like map to column, column to map. So different types of transformation we did. And action we are mostly are using, right? So actions are like count is a action, one is a collect is a action, right? Show is a action, for each is a action, right? So these are the different actions are there. Now when we come to the Spark SQL, so in the Spark SQL basic, like data sources we have checked it, right? Data sources. So if I say file system data sources like CSV file, JSON file, like we can read JSON, XML file. So these examples are there in the Spark by example. So you can find examples. Just simply you have to read spark.read.csv. So you can read the CSV file, spark.read.json, spark.read.xml. You can read the XML file, spark.read.parquet. You can read parquet file. So any file format type you can read. Now next come to the different other data sources integrations. So next data source is coming like SQL databases. SQL databases also we can read and write the data. We can read data from the MySQL, or we can read the data from the any NoSQL databases, Cassandra, Mongo. Okay. So MySQL is you should have the MySQL and MySQL table you should have. So we should start the MySQL, and I want to read the data from MySQL or write the data to the MySQL DB. Okay. So we have to use a JDBC format when we are reading and writing data to the MySQL. So here, so use any database like in those four tables. Okay, so suppose I want to read the data from any other table. So what code I should write? So first of all, when the reading data from the using the Spark shell, there are the different ways are there. One is you can write a code in the PyCharm, or you can start the PySpark shell. So we need a MySQL connector. We need a MySQL connector. So I need to come out from this, and I have to start PySpark shell by using there is a one way is minus package we can use. So when I'm using minus package, I have to give the MySQL connector package. Or if you don't know the MySQL package, suppose your library jar in your some jar file, so you can use my PySpark minus jars, and you can give your jar location. So jar location you can take it from anywhere, because we have this MySQL connector jar in scoop library folder, right? So we have already scoop library folder. There we can go to the scoop library folder, and there this scoop lib, and this MySQL connector jar path we can get MySQL connector. So this MySQL connector jar property, and this path I can give to my minus jars. That is the one option. But suppose you don't have the jar in your local, if you don't have your jar, then you can use minus package. I will tell about that one also. When you want to use minus package, so if you search minus package, so this one is a very common for different options are there. Like you can connect MySQL, Mongo, Cassandra. So for minus packages, this is a minus package. So you will be simply getting a minus package and giving a MySQL connector package. Okay, or minus jar file path. So let's try first the jar file one. Okay, so we'll see that how jar one is work. Okay, so I take this jar name. It is jar name. So basically you have to start your PySpark shell by using this connector. Okay, with this connector you have to start your give the jar path. Okay, and I start my PySpark shell. So this PySpark shell will be like any JDBC related library, like Java driver class. Okay, MySQL Java driver class related code will work fine. Okay. So next step, what I need to do next step, once after get my PySpark shell, I have to read the data. I have to read the data from the any SQL database. Okay. So if I'm saying my database name is Scoop and my table name is employee 4. Okay, and I have a username is root and password is password, and I want to read the data as a data frame. So I already told about this. Like whenever I'm going to read a data from the SQL DB, I will get a data as a data frame. So I will copy this code, okay, and I will paste it. Okay, so some syntax, invalid syntax is saying. Saying password is multiple options in there, invalid syntax. Routing call. Let type it. Maybe. Okay, let's try with the first the practice taking. Okay. This is a Spark Scala code, right? How will it work, right? This is a Scala related syntax. So this is Scala syntax. This is not a PySpark syntax. It is Scala syntax. You have to pass the password like this, but you have to little bit change in the syntax. Read dot format JDBC. So we have to use like this way. When we are using in the PySpark is option is not a way to do. So we have to define a properties. We have to define a properties, and then properties object we pass it like in the function we pass it like this. So like URL equal to URL, table equal to table, and properties equal to property. And properties is the username password properties. So I have to change this code for my requirement. So that is the reason that code was not working. So that was a Scala format. That code was a Scala format code. So here is my host name is a local host, and port is 3306, and the database name is school. Okay. So one more thing I have to add in the here, this particular character encoding. Okay, otherwise I will get error. So character encoding. So I have to add question mark this character encoding. So this is my URL. So one thing I need two things. One is URL. Another one is I need properties. And properties I have a three things. So username, I have a root, password. Password is password. Password is a password. And driver is same. So this URL will be passed here, and table name is my employee port table is or employee table. Okay. So now I will run this statement. I will first run URL and properties. You have to go to again PySpark. So it was correct only. PySpark jar. So I start the PySpark shell. And next is I will create this URL and properties. Okay, it is created. Now next is I will run this. Like I'm going to get the database. So you know, right, whenever you read a file, right, you use a spark.read.csv. So either you use read.format JDBC or you use JDBC directly. Okay. Or another way is read.format, and then you can pass the JDBC.load function is there. Okay. So we just run this statement. So this is giving exception. I think use SSL false. So okay. It's coming empty. So what is my employee table is empty only. I have to choose any other table in MySQL. So let's start from apply. So it is empty. So select start from employee 4. Employee 4. Select employee 4. So I have a one row. So I will change to table employee. One more thing I can do in the URL. Let's see if this. And now I will pass here employee 4. Okay. So now I'm not getting the error. Last time I was getting this handshake error. So handshake error is coming because of the like use SSL property. You know already this property you use in the when importing the data from MySQL to HDFS, right? We were getting this issue. Right? So we will be using the use SSL calls. When we use the use SSL calls, then our data frame is coming fine. Now I do df dot show. So I'm reading this data from the MySQL. Suppose this data frame I want to write into the MySQL. So I will do one thing. I will add one more row in this data frame. Suppose I want to add one more row in this data frame, and then I want to write the data in the append mode. So there are the two ways you can do, either append mode or override mode. So append mode, the data will be appended in the existing data frame, and override mode, your data will be overridden. So if your data is already there, so that data will be gone. Okay. So how many columns you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So I will create a data frame by this way. I can create a new value. Okay. So this is already this value is there. So I change it to some data I'm preparing. So manually I'm preparing the data. Okay. So I'm using this code in the Spark. I'm preparing the data. But this is the okay. This is all the Scala libraries. Okay. So we have to create a data frame, and suppose or we can do one thing here. This df, I want to create another df. Like so, I can do the df1, and I say df dot union dot in the df. So I will create a df1 and dot show. I will get the 2 rows. Okay. So here actually in MySQL, there is no constraint is there on the primary key. Otherwise, I will get the error. So I want to write this data, this 2 rows data, I want to write into the data frame, right? So when you are going to write a data frame, this is all a Scala code. So I will use this write function. So df.write. So here I have to tell everything. Same like URL, table, and properties. Okay. So this syntax you have to modify. Okay. So you want to write a data frame. So now the data frame name is df1 because I created new data frame is df1, and df1 has 2 records. Okay. Now this 2 record I want to append or I want to override. So that I will decide in here either append mode or override. So if I say I want to override it, so 2 records will be overridden to the 1 record in the table, and table name employee 4. So I'm giving a same table employee 4, or I can create a new table. It will create a new table. If I'm giving a some different table name, it will create a new table, and rest of other things will be same. So I will copy this, and then I will write it data frame. Now I will check my MySQL table, or if I'm giving a some new table, I'm giving employee underscore new. Okay. So now let's verify both the table. One is the existing table and one is a new table. Okay. So if I'm going to MySQL, go tables. So first we check select star from employee new. This is the table I created. So this table was not before. So I created this table employee new. Employee new. Okay, let's see employee 4. So let's employee So this df1 dot so oh this df1 is empty. Let's do again this df1. Now df1 dot show. Okay, so this df is empty. So this df is empty. If I check the df dot show, df is empty. Okay, so I have to read data again. Okay, I read this df dot show. Okay, employee 4 doesn't have the data, so I have to use some other table where the data is there. Okay, employee 8. Okay, so employee 8, I'm going to read data. df dot show. So employee 8, I got the data. So I'm creating a new data frame. df dot union df1 dot show 8 record. Now I'm going to write it. First I do in the okay employee 4 existing table we write, or one table is employee new one. I just make it another new one. Okay, and another one is I write data frame in employee 4. Okay, so now I check right in the employee new one. So I created a new one table. So employee new one, you see all 8 records are coming, and employee 4 I check, it is also same 8 records. So either you can create or append, you can do. If I want to again append the record, okay, again one more time I'm running, but now I'm saying here I check in the employee 4. So my previous records are not deleted. So 4, so 8 and 8 are 16 records are there. Okay. So this is the one way I did through PySpark shell. Same code you can do the Spark submit. You have to create a one py file and then you have to do the Spark submit job, and or you can do in the PyCharm ID. So PyCharm ID is simple, like you have to open your so you go to the PyCharm ID. So think I should have already that program because I run asking. So MySQL Go. I search here. I can find. So here we have to define config parameter we have to add of the jar. Jar parameter. This all things will be the same. This part we have to here if we run like this, so I will get the error of JDBC, right? The driver. You have to provide to form.mysql JDBC driver. This driver it is not able to find. Okay, so I need to add a config parameter. So, and MySQL parameter in Spark session. In the Spark session, we need one config parameter. So config like and then you have to give the spark.jar and then give the path of the jar. So this parameter. And we have already the jar path. We have already jar path. This path will be my MySQL connector. MySQL connector path we will be using we started the PySpark management jar parameter. The jar parameter will be this path will be checked in the local path. Right? The local path you have your connector jar path will be okay. So this one is coming question mark. Okay, here we have to use SSL. So use SSL box. Table we are giving where the data is not there. So I should use employee date. Okay. So this table I have a data. I should use this thing. So you can try this way. Okay, so this is the and another third way is Spark Submit job. So just this py file you can do Spark Submit. You can run on the cluster, right? So you can create so some directory I create. Yeah, we create S1. Some py file you create here. Put this entire code. Difference is there you are not using actual cluster, but here you are using actual cluster. You save this file. So these are the three ways we will try everything, right? Like, okay, MySQL connector is the one, Hive is the one, or we can connect to the Mongo, Cassandra. Any integration you do, you can do the testing with the Spark, PySpark shell. And when you want to run an actual cluster, you can run it here. So you can do Spark hyphen submit, and you can give this py file. There are many more parameters are there. You are not running in the Hadoop mode, you are running in the local. Here is the jar is not found. So in this, whatever you are giving config there in the code, that is not accepting. So there is a minus minus jar options here, same like your like when you are starting the PySpark shell. The same thing you can use here and give the minus minus jar parameter. So when you give the minus minus jar parameter, this minus minus jar parameter, same you can use with the Spark submit also. So either you do PySpark shell or Spark submit, both you can use minus minus jar or package. Either way you can do. So here the last can provide we can provide the library. So code one will how did we do last time, Rashmi? Remember, right? Like this code when we run it, we have jar option. Okay, let's add this one also because it is saying minus driver class path because driver is not able to find our class. Okay, so driver class path also we give the same thing. Okay, so one more extra parameter they are giving, and this py file they are giving after the jar. Okay, let's try. So here this package or jar option we used before, and then I start this one. This is a different error, but not the connector error. This is the encoding character error is coming. So this encoding character error is basically we have to use this. So if we want to use, we can use ampersand and we can use use SSL parameter also. So two parameter we can use together. I think here we removed it. Okay. So a character encoding error is coming. So in the character encoding, we have to modify our AI. So here, this particular line. We insert that line. Use as a cell for the pause. Okay. Instead, W2. So now I am just trying to same way, just minus package or minus minus jar also anything is fine. Yeah, so data is coming. So even you can read the data or you can write the data. So just you have to remember like minus minus package or jar, you have to write it before. If you are doing after, it will not work. If you work like this, if you like this, it will not work. The same line, I'm just writing in a different way, it is not working. Okay. So whenever you see it's not working. So it is not detecting your this parameter, minus minus package parameter is not detected. But in this one, it is detected. Okay. So I will upload this code. Okay, so you practice this one. So you can check once. Let's go.
Yeah, can you send me that
Which two?
notepad?
Yeah, notepad I will add there in the classroom. Okay, if you
Oh,
want to, I'll just paste it.
yes.
So the notepad for here in the okay. Yeah, thank you everyone.